All right, let's have a look at the starting lineup, where you'll find Stacy Compton outside pole next to Johnny Sauter, who has his first pole in just his 13th Busch Series start. Joe Nemechek, always the man to beat in the Busch Series here at Talladega, and Jay Sauter finished 7th last year. Scott Riggs, the winner, rookie winner in Nashville. Jack Sprague, Greg Biffle, and Ron Hornaday, Sprague's teammate, still subbing for Ricky Hendrick. And a look back through the rest of the starting lineup, 43 cars in the field. Darrell, do you really think this will be a gas mileage game?
Well, when Larry was saying, they can make it on one stop, I guess you could if there wasn't any cautions. That's probably what the guys are planning on, and I know Larry likes to plan ahead. But I got a feeling with these guys, there's going to be some cautions. There's just no way you can avoid it here. They get 3-4 wide, they run into each other. If nothing else, we'll have a caution for some debris that somebody knocks off somebody's car.
1 to go. Let's tell you about the drivers who have to go to the back of the field. Casey Mears crashed in practice, has to go to a backup car. The number 54, Kevin Grubb, will also have to go to the tail end because they changed engines. The one engine rule in effect here in the Busch Series. And we're told that Kerry Earnhardt, number 12, missed the drivers' meeting and will also have to start tail end Charles.
And Bobby Hamilton Jr. on row 19, he actually qualified 5th on qualifying day 2 days ago. NASCAR controls how these teams can build their shocks, the bleed that lets the car go down on the ground. They found that his shocks did not meet specification. His time was disallowed. He had to take the first provisional.
All lined up on the final pace lap, getting set to go. 43 cars, 117 laps, a new distance, 312, not 300 miles. 55 to 65 laps, the pit window.
That was a big variable this morning as I was talking to some of the crew chiefs. Some of them thought a little less than that, some of them a little more.
In this race, 6 drivers age 25 or under, 13 drivers age 40 or over. Quite a spread, kind of neat there. Looking at some of our onboard cameras that'll carry us through the day. The number 26 Dr. Pepper Camp from Lyndon Amick coming around through the tri-oval. And remember, Talladega is not configured like Daytona, where the start-finish line would be right where the cars are now. Here, the start-finish line is out of the tri-oval, past the pit exit, and on down toward turn 1.
And that may not sound like a big deal, but trust me, we get to lap 117, that little distance will be a big deal.
Green flag, the NASCAR Busch Series racing at Talladega for 117 laps.
And right now, Larry, everybody's your friend. Anybody and everybody will work together right now. But guess what will happen about halfway through this race?
About lap 80 or 90, all of a sudden the crew chief has to tell that driver, you have no friends, no deals. All deals are off. Low line, preferred groove. It's whichever line is moving. That's the preferred groove.
And that's what the spotter will say. You've got to help. You've got to push. Your line's moving. That's the line you want to be in, whichever one it is.
These cars run a 29/32 restrictor plate. That's about a 30-second bigger than the Winston Cup cars, but they run a smaller carburetor, a 390 CFM versus an 830 CFM for the Winston Cup cars.
These cars are actually faster than the Cup cars, just by a skosh.
Looking back from race leader Johnny Sauter, who leads the first lap by just that much over Stacy Compton on the outside and Joe Nemechek on the inside.
This is a super speedway car that Kevin Harvick ran at both speedway races last year, Daytona and Talladega. Johnny drove at Daytona earlier this year.
Everybody's just feeling their cars out right now. Let the air pressure build up a little bit. You don't run the air pressure down much here, maybe a couple of pounds. So that's not a real big issue. But the fluids will warm up and the cars will start to limber up a little bit and really take off.
And the reason we don't run the air pressure down is the reason you do that is grip. You really don't want grip here because the more grip you have, the more it's going to hurt the roller resistance of the race car with the restrictor plates.
Darrell, you're in the middle of this pack. You're only on the second lap, things coming up to temperature. What are you thinking about as how this race is going to develop if you're in that car?
You're thinking about right now, boy, wasn't this way in practice? These guys are really serious now, and there's a lot of them.
See Stacy Compton, you saw him up there in the high side, not a lot of help. Jay Salter, their 21, just not getting quite to his rear bumper. And that's one complaint a lot of the drivers had this morning, Darrell, is the cars, well, he said he wouldn't suck back up. In other words, you could get to a certain point, but you couldn't go all the way to the rear bumper of the guy in front of you.
Yeah, it's just like they hit a roadblock, or the air just blocks up between you and the car in front of you. Well, we got a car off the pace here, guys.
Christian Elder went down to the apron that's inside the yellow line, bottom of the track at turn 2.
And you're not having double vision. We see 2 yellow cars there, sponsored by Yellow. The 51's Joe Ruttman. The one car that's normally driven by Jimmy Spencer, that's the car he's in.
And that's not double your pleasure here, I can tell you.
Nor double your fun. 3 wide, way through the pack. Fun to watch from here.
Well, as you said, everybody right now, there was probably some guys that made changes on their cars. There's guys that were not happy with their cars, but look at these guys. They're going to be 4 wide as they go down the back straightaway here.
What a run. Jason Keller got the 57 car, shot to the outside, went by his teammate Scott Riggs before getting to turn 3 with not a lot of help from behind him. Robert Yates' horsepower under that hood.
Yeah, and if you get your car in the right spot and you get a suck like that, you'll go by a lot of cars. I mean, you can put some moves on guys, but then the next time you try it won't work.
Now they're teaming up. That yellow car of Riggs is Keller's teammate. They are tied for 3rd in the points. 83 points off leader Jack Sprague.
And they're starting to catch Stacy Compton in the 59. That's just the kind of help he'll need to push him on back up there.
Stacy Compton led that lap at the start-finish line. First lead change of the day. And they're stuck in the middle right there.
And they'd like to get a little group together right there and see if they can pull up through there, but it's going to take more than a couple of cars to shoot that middle gap.
Yeah, I don't like the middle. Ooh, that's the rock between 2 hard places.
See, Ron Hornaday in the 5 car talked to that group this morning. Ron's going to run Fontana, and then the next weekend is Richmond. The plan is to take Ricky Hendrick, who was injured in Las Vegas, to a local short track. His dad, Rick Hendrick, said you're going to run 125 straight laps. Then I'm going to put more tires on you. You're going to run another 125 laps. If you feel good, then you can run the Richmond race.
Well, Larry, I don't think there's any question why people were saying Stacy had the car to beat today. Golly, he just drove up on that outside, flew by Sauter, and long gone. If you're going to hook up with somebody, that's the guy you want to hook up with. Brought Jason Keller right up there with him.
There are 3 Sauter brothers in this race. Now let's go visit the 21 pit and Steve.
Well, Mike, right before this race started, crew chief Butch Hilton said to Jay, I have one word for you for this race, and that word is patience. We need to be around at the end, so you won't see Jay Sauter make any bold moves. He's content to ride right behind the 33 of Tony Raines and right in front of the 24 of Jack Sprague.
You know what I love as a driver? You're driving down on the inside. You're in that 2 car. You're leading the race. Jay Sauter. Everything's going fine. You think you're in the right place, doing a good job. All of a sudden, a bunch of cars go by you on the outside.
And you're still wide open.
Say, roll, what?
Whoa, trouble.
Boy,
the 2 car upside down, over and onto Scott Riggs.
It's the big one.
Oh, boy. Who is that still flipping?
Sauter. It was Johnny Sauter.
There's not anybody left.
I mean, I only see about 4 or 5 cars that are coming around through 3 and 4 right now that were not in this race. They see Mike McLaughlin at 18. They're still getting upside down. Cars driving under cars. There has to be 25 cars over there.
Comes Michael Waltrip. Damage Lyndon Amick. And you see the 2 of Johnny Sauter.
Here comes
Scott Riggs, last week's winner.
Here comes our leader, Stacy Compton.
Jason Keller, Kenny Wallace,
Kevin Grubb, who has come from 38 up to the top 5.
Todd go down with damage.
Little bit of damage
Little
on the
damage,
front
not
end.
much.
Jeff Purvis.
Drivers climbing out. There is Ron Hornaday.
Look at that jump.
Going over toward Jamie McMurray.
Shane Mill in the 47 car.
Youngest driver in the race.
Joe
age
Nemechek.
21. Nemechek wrecked.
What a mess.
Coy Gibbs out of his car, and his teammate Mike McLaughlin is the car that landed on top of him. Kind of reminiscent of a big Daytona wreck. Tony Stewart and Bobby Labonte ended up that way.
I don't know if I've ever seen a wreck this big in a Busch Series race here. I don't know if I've seen a wreck this big, maybe even in a Cup event.
One time here, and back in the 70s, Tiny Lund was in it, a lot of other guys. And
23 cars, that one, I think.
23 cars, yeah.
Jimmy Spencer, mangled nose on his car. You saw Kerry Earnhardt's damage.
The problem we have with the racing at Daytona and Talladega is this. You cannot have a single or even a couple of car incident. You run 43 cars on top of each other, you're going to have a big wreck.
Randy LaJoie. There's Nemechek. He is okay.
Oh, I don't know. It looked like Shane Meal possibly just got into the back of the 10 car.
The 47 car, yeah.
Yeah, got into Riggs. Look at that 2 flipping. Looks like Rusty Wallace's flip in the number 2 Winston Cup car here not many years ago.
And when they hit the grass, it even tumbled more. There's Randy LaJoie. Greg Biffle.
Oh, Biffle.
There's
Jay
Kerry Earnhardt.
There's everybody. Jack
Sprague, our point leader.
And the track's completely
Tim Sauter.
blocked.
All the Sauters.
I think we did the right thing by saying who wasn't in it.
And because the track's blocked, NASCAR has displayed the red flag because the cars can't even get through on the back stretch.
It appears to me maybe 10 or 12 cars is all that's left. Boy, that 2 car went over big time and then gets hit, tumbles. That car's, look at that thing, Larry. It's turning every which way.
And then the 21.
And then he gets in the grass. Watch this.
Shot across.
Gets hit again.
Johnny Sauter, number 2, out of his car and okay. Most of the field, 24 cars involved in this crash in the back straightaway, and most of them will go on the rollback and right to the dumpster. Scott Wimmers, maybe one of them. Greg Biffles. And look at Johnny Sauter's, the car that tumbled down the back straightaway. Dick Berggren.
Well, Tony Raines was one of the first to make it to the garage area. The crew is working on pieces and parts that will go on the car. They are not allowed to touch the automobile. Tony sits behind the wheel, confident his crew will get him back out. What was it like through that crash, Tony?
It was really noisy. Hit a lot of stuff. Our debut over closet-made Pontiac didn't turn out so good. I saw the 10 car get sideways, and then I saw a car get flipped over, and I just went to the right. There was one little bitty hole between the wall and the whatever car it was, and I got the car and the wall, so I hit both of them. But typical speedway racing for myself anyway. But we're going to get it back together and get out there and make some laps. They said there's only 13 of them left. Maybe we can still get a top 15 finish. Who knows?
And there's a lot of people who are thinking that way. To Matt.
Dick, Brian Patty, the team manager for Randy LaJoie, is looking over, surveying the damage of the 7 car. And Randy, you told me this morning you were concerned about the big one. What's it like to go through the big one?
You know, I got to thank Nemco Evans Motorsports. You guys built a great race car. I thank my seat company. We bounced around out there like a pinball, but it was a pretty neat ride, really. But you just know your day's done for the Kleenex Winn-Dixie car. A couple guys up in the front got together and seen guys flipping, and one guy landed on the roof. And I just tried to hold it straight and hold the brakes. And hey, what can you do? This is restricted plate racing.
Now, we are under a red flag condition. Your crew is surveying the damage. Can you get this car back out, Randy?
Yeah, chassis-wise, it don't look bad at all. It's just all sheet metal, so we're going to have to whack it off and go to the old short track days, put a nose on it, and beat it up and make some laps.
Looks like a bad night at Danbury, his old racetrack back in Connecticut. And Steve Burns, 78 points out of first coming in. This team could take a big hit today.
Well, Matt, Scott Wimmer, the first to come out of the infield care center. Scott, are you okay? And tell us what happened from your perspective.
Yeah, I'm fine. It just looked like somebody up front got crossed up and got in a couple cars. And after that, you're just along for the ride. I thought we were going to make it through it, but a car slid up from the bottom and hit him right square in the door. But it seems like everybody's okay. That's a good thing, and we'll move on from here.
We caught up with Tim Sauter, one of the 3 Sauter brothers in this race. Tim, first off, can you tell us about Jay and Johnny?
Jay and Johnny are both fine. Jay hit the wall pretty good, and he lost his breath there for a minute. Johnny just took a wild ride, and he's okay. Just one of them deals here at Talladega.
You started 10th, Tim. How disappointing is this?
It's really disappointing. We had a great car. We were just staying in line, minding our own business. I had kind of talked to Sprague earlier that we were just going to run behind him and stay right there. And I thought we had it made through there, and it's unfortunate for everybody at AP Performance because they worked their guts out to get this car done. We literally just got it back from the body hangers 2 weeks ago, so it's a real disappointment for us. Hopefully it's not hurt too bad. We lost some oil pressure there, so I couldn't drive it back. Otherwise, I'd have tried. So we'll see if we can't get it back out here for a few laps.
Kenny Wallace will lead the field down for the restart. Stacy Compton in second. Jason Keller, Tim Fiedler, Hank Parker Jr., the top 5. Chad Chaffin was running at the tail end of the lead lap. That's how he missed that wreck. C.W. Smith, Kevin Grubb, Andy Kirby, Casey Mears, Jeff Purvis, Todd Bodine, Jimmy Kitchens, Larry Foyt, and Larry Gunselman, and Jack Sprague. Actually, Sprague now is off the racetrack. although he did make it around on the caution flag.
Yeah, he had a lot of rear damage to his car. He had to take to the garage.
For the most part, all these leaders 20 laps into this race, they did make a pit stop. Wise move. This definitely puts you where you make it on one stop. And, you know, check your tires. A lot of debris over there that you could have run over with your tires that were on your car.
A 40-minute red flag for a crash that began when Kenny Wallace moved up track in front of Scott Riggs, and Shane Meal got into the back of Riggs. Steve Burns with another driver who got caught up in the big one.
And Mike, that's Bobby Hamilton Jr. Bobby, they're putting a brand new radiator in the 25 car. Can you get back out?
Yeah, we're going to get back out. Might as well. There's only 12 cars. I mean, at least you can get us to get top 20. Standing points Marine Force class, we didn't get a chance to show it. We got thrown in the back, and then had too much tape on the radiator, so we had to ride high the whole time. And I got stopped and got hit in the back. But that's what you get when you come here. But we'll go to California and try to pick up where we left off in Nashville.
All right, thanks, Bobby. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
22 people from Richard Children's organization right now working on Jay Sauter's car. Biggest project, pull the rear frame rails up. They are too low. They're into the rear end of the car. Crew Chief Butch Hilton just told me they intend to get this car back in the race, but not to run one lap. They intend to finish the race. That would be a miracle. This thing is absolutely torn up front to back. Mike?
Well, Dick, they've got a lot of time. 20 laps complete out of 117. And even if they can run 2 or 3 laps, they could move up 10, maybe 15 positions.
And you saw those guys with Richard Childress' 21 car. They actually had a frame machine there. That's something we started bringing about 3 or 4 years ago. We put it in the garage. It's about the only way you can get these tail sections up off the ground. You see there's a frame machine, hydraulic. It's the only way you can get those frames to move. You're not going to move it without something like that frame machine. And you know, the thing that these guys are faced with, Darrell, even though they only have to run 7 seconds slower than they were running when they were racing, is you still have to have 55, 60 degrees of spoil on these cars. And these things are have to be so aerodynamic here, you almost have to have the whole front end. And what we'll probably see as some of these cars repair, they will actually get in little groups trying to maintain that speed.
Yeah, I'm really not a big fan of at Talladega, particularly in Daytona, putting those cars back out there without a full body on them. They should have the fenders, and, you know, they should at least have look like some kind of race car anyway, not a modified.
Kenny Wallace under pressure for the lead. Stacy Compton and Jason Keller, a 3-car breakaway at the front of the remains of the field. 15 cars are running. Quite a number being worked on in the garage, hoping to return to the race.
Hey, and there's a lead change.
Stacy Compton in that 59. These guys kind of keep swapping the lead back and forth. You know, we look at Kenny Wallace in the 48 car, and that's a Pontiac. Now, he normally runs a Chevrolet. A lot of teams for Daytona and Talladega that run Chevrolets, they go to the Pontiac because they've determined the center of the rear spoiler is down further on a Pontiac. Well, what NASCAR has done to try to even it up, they have put about a ½ inch. Stacy Compton in a Chevrolet, they have added a ½ inch to the height of the Pontiac rear spoiler, along with 2 inches wider. The Pontiac rear spoiler is 7 by 59 inches wide. The Chevrolet and the Dodge is 6.5 by 57. Just trying to even these cars up.
Yeah. Excuse me. The thing that I was thinking about is looking at that Buddy Baker graphic. He was the first one to go over 200 mile an hour here. When Mr. France built this racetrack, his vision was to build a racetrack that cars would run over 200 miles an hour. That's why they built this place. And today, the vision is to keep them under 200 miles an hour.
Right. I say Buddy's here this weekend spotting for Ryan Newman. He lost his dad, Hall of Famer Buck Baker, last Sunday. And our condolences to Buck's wife, Susan, and to Buck's children, Buddy, Susie, and Randy, and the whole family. We've lost a Hall of Famer and a great driver.
But, you know, it's still interesting. I mean, I think it's kind of neat how so many of the pioneers of our sport are still alive today. And guys that made this sport, started this sport, were the first guys ever drove these cars on some of these big racetracks, are still around.
Saw Rex White in the garage area, the 1960 Grand National Champion. He was telling us how he invented the jacking bolt for these Winston Cup type cars, and the seat side bolster in 1957 built him into all the Chevrolet factory cars back then. A lot of great stories. Matt?
Something's wrong with 59. We're looking at Stacy Compton. in the 59 car, it looks like he's picked up some trash, a trash bag or something, and it's right at the base of the windshield, and that's the cowl opening, right here in front of the cowl opening.
Yeah.
And that's where air goes into the carburetor area, and that could definitely hurt the performance.
You know what? I think the decals are blown off. The decals blown off the hood and come back on there.
I think you're right.
And that's not a good place because, folks, right in there, that little opening is where they get the air for the engine.
Steve, it will not turn the motor up. It'll just be like more throttling it. And forward. Watch it, Stacy.
If that closes off that air intake, it'll cause that engine to detonate. She might blow up on you.
Car was so fast, blew the sponsor right off the hood.
Blew it right off the hood. A lot of heat under that hood.
I've heard of a lot of things happening to race cars because of preparation one way or another, but I've never seen this.
I always wanted a car fast enough to blow them off, but I never did have one.
There you can see the slot is still mostly open where that engine gets its air to the carburetor. Dick Berger.
48 Kenny Wallace has just radioed in. At first he thought he had an ignition problem. He switched to the backup ignition system. That didn't do it. The fuel pressure is bouncing around back and forth. He's calling back and forth to his crew chief trying to get it squared away. Wallace had been running in third, and just moments ago he said he had the stuff to win this race. Now engine trouble. To Matt.
Dick, I'm here in the 59 pit, and Steve Plattenberger's the crew chief. Steve, we can see the decal bouncing around the cowl area. Are you going to have to pit him early?
We're going to wait and see if the motor starts slowing down. And if it does, we'll stop for gas and pull it off. You know, it looks funny. Let's lead like this right here. We had a real good car, got to the front, and we'll just play it by ear and see if it comes off or not.
They did a deal with the 57 car to let him lead a lap to get those 5 bonus points, and that's what they did, and that's why the 57 did lead a lap, and then when the 57 led the lap, they let the 59 back by. He needs the fresh air to keep that engine cool.
Yeah, and so far, I mean, it's not hurting anything. It's throwing a little bit of a corner of the air box there. You watch it. Watch the decal right here. It just starts coming up. See the front edge of it right there, kind of raising up? Got too much heat in that grill.
And that hole at the base of the windshield, it's about 2.5 inches by 20, and it's a direct cold air box to the top of the carburetor that gets air to the carburetor.
We've seen things today we've never seen. 27 cars pile up on the backstretch. The decal peels off the leader's car and almost clogs up the engine. The cars that were racing for 7th and 8th, Casey Mears and C.W. Smith, are on pit road. Steve?
And Mike, the retired Pennsylvania State Trooper C.W. Smith takes just right side tires and they get it full of gas. He's back on down pit road. Service is done for C.W. Smith.
And they were pretty much running together. Casey Mears is well off pit road now. C.W. Smith is just now exiting pit road. It's kind of important those guys try to get back together. You're not going to run fast by yourself. It's hard to even run fast with 2 cars hooked up when you've got another pack out there.
There are still 15 cars in the garage that have not been withdrawn from the race that are under repair, trying to get back out and run a few laps. So far, the most successful of those that have returned is Jack Sprague, the point leader, who is now shown in 16th place.
And Mike, that's going to pay off so much for him down the road. Getting back out there, picking up these positions. He was the point leader coming in. I mean, he's thinking big picture, and that's what all these guys that are working on the cars are thinking.
All right, pit stops among the leaders, 2nd and 3rd. They leave Compton out there, and Keller comes to pit road with Kenny Wallace. Now, the man allowed to service the driver cannot pull that decal from Stacy Compton's car. That 8th man is only allowed to service the driver and clean the windshield.
But I think that'd be something easy for the Jack man to reach across there and pull that off. Dick Berger.
Well, Kenny Wallace simply had to pit. They were afraid they were going to run this thing out of gas. They wanted to pit all 3 cars at the same time. 59 Stacy Compton has, well, shall we say, not played well with the other guys. They have very much felt as if it's been a matter of the 57 and 48. Keller and Wallace working together. Kenny Wallace out of the pit area. He's gone. To Matt.
Dick, a 2-tire change for the 57 of Jason Keller. A little trouble, though, on the right front, but he does catch up to the 48 car as they exit pit road. But the miscue was the 59 was going to come with them, and at the last minute, they thought they could go 1 more lap. So, okay, go 1 more. And then the other 2 cars had already peeled off.
All right, Randy LaJoie has taken his car back to the garage after running a couple of laps, and here comes Compton down pit road.
Well, the 57 and the 59 are pitting pretty close together, so he may not want to come in with maybe the 57 getting in his way as he came into his pit box.
Matt?
Right on the hood, you can see that the decal has sucked right up around the cowl, but the entire decals are ripping it off. You can see it going down inside the cowl. Tad Geschecter, the co-owner, pulls it out. A two-tire change as they fill it full of fuel. Their big concern, packing that fuel cell full of fuel, 16.8 seconds.
Kerry Earnhardt back in the race. We saw there briefly. A lot of tape on his car.
A pit road speed is 55 miles an hour. Jason Keller, Kenny Wallace in the middle of the triangle. I mean, Stacy Compton, I think he's going to be okay. He lost a little ground by running that one lap by himself, but he's going to have to get up to speed in a hurry.
And they wanted to pack that thing full of fuel, so...
Hank Parker Jr. waving. He's going to pit this time. That's the signal.
And you can tell he was waving, but he hadn't backed off the throttle yet. But he's just alerting the guy behind him. I'm going to come off of 4 and I'm going to go to pit road.
He's now the second place car. You see behind Jeff Purvis. Will they all pit together?
Looks to me like they're going to. Yeah, they're all coming down together. Smart move on everybody's part. 57 car just went around Compton up in turn 4 to take the lead.
And Ashton Lewis comes back on the speedway along with Jamie McMurray after damage and Chad Chaffin. Or Steve?
And Hank Parker could not get it slowed down. An air gun gets caught up on the 36. No brakes for Hank Parker. Just heard him say it. The 37 of Jeff Purvis is in with no trouble, but Hank Parker Jr. could not get the 36 slowed down. Brake pedal broke on the 36.
Well, what happens, Darrell, these speedway cars, a lot of teams get carried away sometimes trying to save weight. They don't think the brake pedal's that important. They'll hand make the brake pedals, drill holes in them to lighten them up. It may have bit this group right here.
It may have, and every time I see a brake, they make them out of aluminum, and they drill holes in them. They think, well, we don't need the brakes on a speedway like this. Wrong again.
I mean, just look at the pit time. We're over 40 seconds. They just started changing the right side tires.
About a pound of weight cost them probably a top 5 finish today.
And they'll get a penalty because they ran over that air hose and dragged it, so he'll be held in the pits for a timed penalty.
There you see our leaders, probably their last pit stop complete. They're back together.
And this is one of the things that Jeff can tell you. Jeff, how many times I tell you, don't beat yourself. And that's how you beat yourself right there, by doing things that are unnecessary, that cost you a penalty, and your brakes are out.
Coming up.
Here's Parker, the 36, coming on pit road with Tim Fedor. Purvis in.
You can see had the wheels locked up, but then the pedal broke and the car took off.
Darrell, if you remember, that happened to us exactly at the same racetrack a few years ago. We had too light a rod between the brake pedal and the master cylinder, if you remember, and you had to make a panic stop. And when you did, it bent that rod. You didn't have any brakes. We just about had the same thing happen to us that day, but fortunately, I think we were able to run second that day in the course of the race. But I remember that you were quite agitated the fact you didn't have any brakes.
He's got the help of Casey Mears in the 66, Hank Parker Jr. in the 36, Dick Berger.
Yeah, and that was planned. They've been working on this for about the last 5 laps or so. Now, ordinarily, a veteran like Kenny Wallace wouldn't go with a rookie like Casey Mears, but he saw Mears as his last great hope to get up to the front. So the plan had been those two cars try to draft on by everybody else. Kenny would win the race.
Yeah, but Mears is racing Todd Bodine for 5th place.
And boy, that
the plan backfired on Kenny Wallace, the 48 car. That pretty much took him out of the picture right there.
Kenny's car's just not running all that well, and nobody seems to be willing to work with him right now.
Inside of 20 laps to go, you have no friends.
As a matter of fact, Kenny Wallace is falling off the pace there a little bit, Dick.
Yeah, and it's the worst possible situation. He just radioed to the crew Kenny Wallace has and said the motor's about to go. What a day he has had.
Yeah, you can hear as he went by here, Dick. It doesn't sound good.
Going to try to ride it out. 13 laps to go.
Off the throttle just a little bit, trying to finish.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he needs to do. I mean, you have a point situation. He's not going to win the race. The worst he would probably finish if it will run to the end will be 4th.
Tim Fedor moves up to 3rd place. Todd Bodine a lap down to 4th, and Casey Mears 5th. That's going to be a good battle as this shakes out.
Tim Fedor 4th place in a backup car. For one of the other teams.
And this was a car, Darrell, that when they started the day, didn't know if they'd be able to run the whole race or not.
Yeah, I don't think he intended to. I think he inherited a pit crew early on.
Speaking of not running the whole race, Greg Biffle's day. Rumpled, crumpled, and now overheated.
Now, did they put that decal on there before they went back out, or was that already on there?
I believe that's what's left. And he's probably going to end up maybe about, looks like maybe 26.
You know, I can't believe it, but that looked like the hood off the 20 car. Jeff?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, Mike. If you look real close, that's the hood off the 20 car. They've gone through the scrap pile and basically put their car back together with somebody else's car.
That hood wasn't mangled as bad as Biffle's was.
Let's make a deal, right?
Yeah, right. Darrell, Jeff, I've done a lot of things fixing cars, but I don't know if I've ever took somebody else's wrecked pieces and put on them.
Oh, the classic of that was Benny Parsons in 1973, I believe it was, when he won the Winston Cup Championship. He wrecked at Rockingham, and they tore the whole right side of his car out, roll bars and all. They went in the car, found a car that was in the garage, found a car that was out of the race. They cut the man's side off, cut his roll bars out, welded them in his car, and went back out and won the championship.
I hear Roger Miller warming up to sing sheet metal for sale or rent. So it's a two-car race, but don't forget Tim Fido, 14 seconds back if anything happens among this lead duo.
Stacy Compton, he continues to analyze the situation up there in that second groove, seeing maybe if he can get that run off the corner going down the hill.
It's going to be hard to do.
Compton, I believe, has more races here than Keller because he's run here in a Winston Cup car in addition to a Busch car. Jason Keller's best finish here in 9 races, 11th in 1997 and in the 1998 race.
These restrictor plate cars are so hard to pass. I mean, you run up to the guy in front of you, but all of a sudden it's like you hit a brick wall. They just stop and they can't get on by. I like what Stacy's doing, though. He's trying to figure out how to get a run, and if he can do that, he might be able to get on the outside. Then they can maybe drag race him back.
Kenny Wallace, the 48, running around the apron right there.
They're saying you're smoking. They're black flagging you now.
10 to go.
That's Stacy Compton.
Run 2 laps. Run 2 laps. You can run 2 more and then come.
And the reason they say that is he'll move up, hold a position if he can run 2 more laps.
He'll make it run this one right here. Come on.
So this is Stacy Compton's 9th Busch Series race here. And he's run 4 Winston Cup races here, a best of 11th in October 2001.
Well, I think he's got a faster car, Stacy does. I just don't know if he can get by Jason Keller. Jason Keller takes his line away from him as he gets that big run on him. I think the race is all over.
And I'm sorry, it's his 9th Busch Series race, not at this track, 9th overall.
Stacy Compton down to the inside here, down the back straightaway. Ford versus Chevy, but you know what I like we hadn't talked about? Robert Yates horsepower in that 57, Richard Childress horsepower in that 59.
Well, this is when you pull your hair out as a driver. Man, I'm faster than he is. I can get to him, but dadgummit, I can't get by him.
Looking.
And every time he does that right there, when he gets a run, if he just kind of closes, oh, that lap car is going to help him.
He got a pull from Randy LaJoy as he moved past LaJoy. Won't get him around Keller, but it will get him to Jason Keller.
Boy, he is filling up his mirror right now. He is inside, outside, right on his back bumper. He's working him.
You know, Darrell, you can comment better on this than I can. If I'm Jason Keller, I don't want to let that inside get open too much.
No, I'd be using that mirror. I can tell you that, and he's doing a pretty good job of it. The spotter and him and his mirror, that's his 3 best friends right now.
8 laps to go, 7 when they come back. Steve Burns.
Mike with Steve Addington. Steve, can you hold off that car right behind you?
I don't know. It's been kind of boring all day long.
Not now.
Not now. It's getting good. I don't know. The 59's been strong. He was strong in happy hour. We ran good with him in happy hour. And we pushed him to the front when all the other cars were out there. I don't know if he can do it by himself. But I'll tell you what, I'm proud of all these guys. They put together a good race car. And all the guys back at the shop worked really hard on this car. And I appreciate everybody's hard work, no matter what the outcome is.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Kenny Wallace has gone to the garage. End of day.
Now, one thing that Stacy and Jason don't want to do is wreck each other.
No.
So, they got to kind of, if Stacy can ever get a run on him and get position, I don't believe that Keller would fight him off. I believe he'd realize he needed to let him go. But that's about as close as you can get right there. These restrictor plate cars get right up along. Uh-oh, here he goes, looking inside.
But Darrell, he's got to push that air if he gets up alongside there. Can you do it?
That gap right there is so hard to close by yourself. Had somebody behind him pushing him, you could go right on up there, but not by yourself.
Only 3 cars on the lead lap. That'll be a new record for sure.
With 6 laps to go, is Stacy Compton all the way to the high side of the racetrack right now and trying to get that run off turn 2.
Hey, Jason Keller said, where'd he go? Where'd he go? Where is it? I don't see him. And he's all the way up against the outside wall.
Darrell, you want to try to make that leader nervous?
Oh, yeah. He's working him right now. He's going he doesn't want him to know where he is.
You want him to aggravate him.
That's right.
All right, Kenny Wallace in the garage, Dick Berggren.
Well, Kenny Wallace almost won this race, but the big question is, however did you get through the big one?
Well, what happened there was, we qualified 21st, and we're running third on about lap 12. 10 cars started to make a run on me on the outside, and I was coming up the racetrack, and from what I hear, I guess him and Shane, I don't know, I hear the 10 car got loose behind me. So it was kind of hard to know what happened behind me. The only way I made it through it is I was in front of it. So, the deal was the Stacker 2 Pontiac was quick enough to qualify 21st, being third and missed the wreck. But we blowed up, so that's not good.
How big a disappointment, Kenny?
Oh, it's really disappointing when you capitalize on, easy third place. Sit out there and run around, but I'm disappointed, but what the hell can I do?
Yeah. Well, you should finish 10th, so that'll help you in the points, and I know you're looking for the championship. We wish you well.
I am. Thank you.
He'll finish 10th because he's 5 laps down with 5 to go, and right now the 10th place car is 11 laps down.
Now our leaders are coming up on some lap traffic, even though that lap traffic is about 4 or 5 seconds slower. Jason Keller here trying to sniff any draft, any air off those cars that he can.
But what Stacy's got to do is, whichever way Keller goes, is be in a position to jump to the other lane if he has to.
77 shooting the high line in front of you.
If you can ever get that fender to either quarter panel, then it's a drag race. There you see Stacy trying to get that little bit of sniff of draft off the 77 car. Jimmy Kitchens get that run off the hill coming off turn 2.
Oh, he's just falling back a little bit too far. He's going up there a little too high. He goes into one right on him. He's got a great plan, but hadn't timed it right yet.
It's going to be 3 laps to go when they come back to the line. And remember, unlike Daytona, the finish line at Talladega is not in the middle of the tri-oval. It's past the pit road exit on the way to turn 1.
And I know that when they put this line down here, I'm sure they thought that was funny. But when you're out there racing and trying to win a race, it ain't funny that it's way down here.
Actually, Darrell, it wasn't funny. It's because all those seats in the tri-oval were real good seats because you can see pit road, and Bill France knew you'd sell those seats. But to sell these seats down toward turn 1, they put the finish line down here so those folks would have something interesting in front of them.
There's been many races lost from where a start-finish line normally is to right down here where this one is.
And they're catching the 26 car, Lyndon Amick, right here, just trying to sniff that draft. You see Lyndon Amick waving which way he wants them to go. They're going to the inside of him right here as they go off into turn 3.
Actually, that helped Keller because they were caught going down the back straightaway. Keller was able to suck up to the back of the 26s, and then he moved it up out of the way as it went in the corner.
Tim Fidoa is 30 seconds off the lead. Remember, this is a backup car. They entered the race intending to pick up some show money. It's a backup car to Black Wallace. Now they are in third. If anything happens to the 2 leaders, it is Fidoa alone on the lead lap.
Boy, Stacy's there this time, guys. He's looking at the inside, but he just can't quite get there.
Jason Keller was 4th at Daytona this February, his best ever finish on NASCAR's 2 biggest tracks. Can he win it?
Stacy puts an awfully big gap between him and Jason as they come off turn 2, and I think that's okay if you've got somebody behind you pushing you. Without anybody behind you, I'm just not sure that's good. But he's trying. You got to give him credit. He's trying every angle he can try.
Yeah, I think that Keller knew way back on that last restart that he did not want to let that 59 car get up in front of him, and this is the reason why. He knew he could hold him off.
They'll be coming to the white flag here. There's about 3 lap cars, about 300 yards in front of him. They'll be trying to stiff that little bit of trap. White flag.
Here comes Stacy. He's got to look down on the inside. He does this every time. He catches him going into 1, but he just can't get there. Now, every other time he's gone real high through here to try to get a run. This time he's going to tuck in behind him and see if he can drag race him down the back.
That's one right there, baby. You the man.
Now also knows to tail the 4th place race, Todd Bodine and Casey Mears, but this is for the win.
And here they go, and Stacy's going to try to close as they get down here to turn 3. I don't think he's got the steam to do it, though, Larry.
No, I don't believe he does either. Again, there's about 3 cars up in front of these guys. Jason getting a little bit of sniff from those bunch. Stacy drifts up just a little bit. If it don't happen there, I don't think it's going to happen.
45,000 to win, 2/3 of that for second. Here they come.
Bring it down there. Bring it down there.
Takes that inside away. That's pretty much the race right
Bring
there.
it back down. Bring it back down.
Jason Keller gets his first Daytona Talladega victory, holding off Stacy Compton. Tim Fedewa will finish third. Coming to the line, the battle for fourth, the rookie Casey Mears, right on the bumper of Todd Bodine. Best ever Busch Series finish for Mears.
And in a backup car, so that's a good run for these guys.
Best ever finish for Larry Foyt, who was 8th. Jimmy Kitchen 7th, Andy Kirby 6th.
And Kenny Wallace held on to 9th.
From the garage.
From the garage as he watched.
Jason Keller started 12th. It's his 2nd win of the season. First Talladega victory in his 10th start here. In fact, it's his first top 10 finish at Talladega and his 7th career NASCAR Busch Series win. He'll be 32 years old on Tuesday. Happy birthday, Jay. What a nice way to celebrate. Matt Yoakum.
And what a way to celebrate an upcoming birthday. A big hug from crew chief Steve Addington. You guys have been together a long time, but this has to be a very sweet victory, Jason.
It really is. Happy birthday, buddy. This Albertsons crew won the race. I tell you what, we had a good real fast forward, and they got me out. Had enough momentum past the 59 car, and he just really didn't have any help. So just fantastic. I'd like to wish James Barnwell a happy birthday. I told him I would if I got in victory lane, and Deb and the kids at home, they missed the victory lane, but we bring the trophy home tonight.
Well, 34-year-old Stacy Compton, his career best finish 2 weeks in a row. I think he put that smile on. You bad wanted to win this thing. What would it have taken?
I'll tell you what, I guess it's good to be disappointed with second, but we're pretty disappointed right now. Steve Plattenberg, all the guys on this Kings for Johnsonville Chevrolet done a great job. We've been getting better every week, and we got a little behind right there. We had some freak things happen. A hood decal come off and got stuck down in the cowl, and may have hurt us a little bit. I don't know. We needed to try to get that out, but Richard Childress horsepower pulled us around there pretty good, and we had a good day. Sure thought we had a good enough shot to win it, but congratulations, Jason. We'll just dig a little harder next time and see if we can come up with a win.
Congratulations to you, too. Steve Burns.
Thanks, Dick, with Tim Fedewa, who's been looking for a ride. This was kind of a last-second deal, and you finished third today.
Yeah, I didn't even know we were going to do it until I got here. And Fred Biaggi brothers, man, they gave me an opportunity. We didn't know for sure if we were just going to run a few laps and pull in. After the big one, we figured, well, we'll go give it a shot. And Kevin Pereira's a good race car. Mike Wallace helped me out. Everybody did a good job. Pontiac run good. And hey, man, I'm just glad to be here. And you never know in this business. I work hard at being prepared when an opportunity comes about. And it was there today, and I felt like I was on top of my game and ready to do something. So just thanks to everybody again, and happy birthday, Terry, too, by the way.
Great to see you back, Tim. Let's go to Mike Joy.
Third place for Fedewa, worth $31,000. Here's a look at the unofficial results. First time in 3 years, less than 4 cars finished on the lead lap.
You know, guys, I don't mean to overanalyze, but I'm going to go back to the green flag stops at laps 65 and 66. Our 3 leaders, Stacy Compton, who was leading the race, Jason Keller and Kenny Wallace running 1, 2, 3. Keller and Wallace hits pit road lap 65. Compton makes a lap by himself. When it all shook out, Jason Keller took the lead there and never gave it back up. You just wonder if Stacy Compton had a hit pit road with those guys and beat them off pit road, he may be in victory lane.
Darrell, easy to catch him here, hard to pass him.
Well, that's the thing with the restrictor plates, particularly this aero package. If it had been last year with the strips on the roof and everything, you know, might have saw a lot of side-by-side racing there at the end. But you just get up so close and you can't get by. Tomorrow will be a little different story, though.
Jason Keller came here 4th in the points. He will leave 2nd. Randy LaJoy also made a big drop, rather, a couple of one spot there. Kenny Wallace 4th. He gains 1, and Scott Riggs drops from a tie for 3rd into 5th place in the points. 22 cars failed to finish. That is shy of the record. A nice tribute to the mechanics. Out of the 27 that wrecked, a lot of those cars got back in the race. And there's a look back through the top 20.
And as we get a look at Jason Keller from Greenville, South Carolina, we had 5 leaders, 7 lead changes, a number of cautions throughout the race in search of his first ever points championship and winning this time.
we have almost reached the end of